So our special guests today are Lilith and Hearn. They have Cult Horrotica Magazine. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hiya.
So can you tell us a little bit about the magazine?
Yeah, basically, we wanted to do a magazine for people who kind of liked this sort of stuff, because there isn't anything really out there in this genre. So we wanted to give authors a platform to be able to write without having to worry about what friends or family thought, anything like that. And people who wanted to read it, sort of like a nice way of being able to do it. To be honest, it was Lilith's idea because Lilith writes in this genre. And, kind of we haven't been able to find anything that fits into the genre that's easy to digest. So Lilith decided that a magazine was the way to go. So that's what we're doing.
Brilliant. So explain to the listeners what I still can't say it.
Erotica.
Yeah,
like
that's
erotica. It's a mix of horror and erotica. So it's erotica. And that is what it is. It's that mix of, it's not just erotic stories that include sex. It's also got the horror element. And it can vary, it can be as tame or as kind of outrageous as you like. I mean, we've had submissions that are more like splatterpunk, so it's quite graphic and gory, but at the same time you've still got that erotic element intertwined. And it's quite hard to write. I think it's definitely it's how you use language when you're writing it, so it's definitely not about shock value. It's somehow making that gore and horror erotic and sexy, if vampires is one, I guess, that you would say would be your traditional erotic horror, but it's taking it to the next level, and just adding a bit more depravity.
Absolutely. It's about being as free as you want to be. We've got stories in this magazine that are quite sensuous, but at the same time, they have an undercurrent to them. And that's kind of what we were looking for. We were looking for that edge.
So it's a bit different to the norm that you would expect.
Yeah, this is your first one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how's it going for your first one?
It's a learning curve.
It is a learning curve. Yeah. It's a whole new thing for us and doing a magazine. But it's really good fun. We've been really enjoying it. It's lovely to see different authors and their take on this genre. And just getting to know.
I was just about to say exactly the same thing. I mean, one of the things that we notice is at the moment, there seems to be like a flood of anthologies on the market. Yeah. Every time you open Instagram or whatever, there's a new, submissions call for stories for anthologies, and you see the same names in pretty much all of them. And we wanted to do something where we were picking stories based on quality rather than who wrote them. So we kind of didn't even really look at names when we were reading through, and we picked the stories that spoke to us. And that's been part of the learning curve, because neither Lilith or I is good at saying no. So actually going through the submissions and picking what we wanted was difficult, because you're kind of always looking for the good in everything. So we were reading stuff with quite a sympathetic eye, and it's not until you read two stories back to back that you realize that there can be quite a huge quality jump.
And it's hard when you have people submit to you, and going, well, what, this story doesn't really fit what we're looking for, and you think we're going to have to tell them no for this issue, but I also tried to explain why and say, you know, if you want to submit next time, this is why you weren't accepted to this anthology this time. But yes,
so sorry,
don't worry.
Power caught, and I was like sat in dark and just going, no. God's sakes, always happens at the worst time.
Always.
Okay. Where were we?
I can't remember.
No idea.
Okay, so
about
I think you were sort of like explaining what erotica was. I said it.
Yeah, you said it.
I did. Yeah, okay. We'll go on to the next question. So, how do you create content for each issue?
Relying on people submitting to us. We're putting out submission calls before the issues go live, obviously, and seeing what comes in and picking the best stuff out of there.
Yeah, just like you would, I guess, if you were doing a submission call for an anthology. It's the same kind of process. I mean, we have things that we're going to incorporate into the issue ourselves, just extra... I've forgotten the word.
Yeah, I mean,
articles is the word I was looking for, and just little extra bits from both of us. But it's mainly all about the authors and their stories.
Yeah.
So, what's the submission guidelines for you?
Again, this was part of the learning process. When we first put it out, we had relatively loose guidelines, and we're finding that we were getting stuff that just wasn't meeting what we wanted. So they got tightened up as we went. For this issue, we had we accepted what we termed flash fiction, which is relatively short. And we're thinking going forward that we might not incorporate that. It might well be that we just do short stories as opposed to flash fiction and poetry, because in this issue we've actually got 3 poems in there as well. And both of us like that, but putting the magazine together at the moment, we're not sure that it's something that we'll do going forward. It seems to flow better with the stories. So I mean, the submission guidelines, Lilith's done a really nice page on her website that kind of really explains exactly what erotica is and how to write it, because we were finding we were getting a lot of stories that fell into either horror or erotica, but struggled to cross the line between the two. So Lilith wrote a really nice piece that's on her website that explains exactly what we're looking for in a story. And we think that the stories that we've picked out for this issue all fit that really well.
Because it's like, I kind of tried to explain that if you can remove the horror from the story and still keep the sex parts in it and it still makes sense, then it's not erotica. And vice versa, if you can remove the erotic parts of the story and keep the horror in, it still makes sense, it's not erotica. You need both. You can't have one without the other. They both work together. And it's not always easy to do.
No, it's not.
To keep that balance, it's quite difficult.
A lot of people write horror and throw in a sex scene because, hey, why not? Let's chuck in a sex scene in a horror story because it's what people want. That's not erotica. And a lot of people write erotica and throw something in for shock value. And that's not erotica either.
So what's been the process of deciding on your cover art?
We're incredibly lucky that Lilith is an insanely talented artist. So Lilith is doing all of the cover art.
Oh, insanely talented. I don't know if I'd say that.
Seriously, insanely talented. We were sat one night watching crappy YouTube, And Lilith picked up her iPad and just started doodling on it. And that's evolved into the cover art for this issue.
That's kind of how I go. I'm like that as a writer. I'm a bit of a pantser. Like, I don't plan. I can't just sit down and kind of organize myself. I just tend to just go, right, I've got an idea, so let's just jot this down. So if I was writing, I would just write down all my ideas without having a plan. I'm the same when I draw. I would just sit down with my iPad, and I just kind of did it. For this one, I just did like a splodge on a page.
Yeah.
And I thought, what can I turn this into that is erotic, that will fit the cover of the magazine? And it just went from there. And that's just how I draw and how I write. It's kind of a natural process. And I think if I ever plan anything, then it just all goes to hell, really. It's just like, seriously, it's awful. I cannot plan. That's always my downfall. So I just have to go with the fact that even though it does drive me mad, which seems weird, but it does, because in my day-to-day life, I like to have a plan. I make lists for everything.
Yeah.
But when it comes to writing or doing art, that doesn't work for me. I feel like it's a constraint.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to go, right, I'm going to sit down, watch some TV, and let's just see what happens with this doodle that I've just done. And then it just kind of happens. And I'm actually quite, I am proud of the cover.
Oh my God.
Even though I'm so judgmental of my own work, I really am quite proud of how it's come out, and I hope everyone likes it.
I think this is one of the difficult things, is trying to convince Lilith when something's done, to stop fiddling with it.
Yeah, I'm terrible for that. There's a tweak here, a tweak there, and it'll be last minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
To revise the cover, quick, we've got 10 minutes. Let's do it.
And it's one of the things that we are really proud of in this magazine. It's we haven't used, just like a stock image for the cover or whatever. It is something that Lilith has created from scratch, and it's absolutely stunning.
Oh, fantastic. Can't wait to see it.
Oh, she's honest. She's just, nobody should be as talented as Lilith. It's honestly, it's obscene. If you can write, you shouldn't be able to draw like that, or vice versa. Lilith's the whole package. She can do it all. And she's doing all the work on this, editing, putting it together, keeping in touch with the authors and keeping them up to speed on everything, promo, graphics, the whole lot. Lilith is doing absolutely everything.
Yeah, and after Halloween, I'll be sleeping for a month.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hibernation.
It's her baby, and really, I shouldn't even be on here. It's all I'm doing is like supporting her in it and helping out.
That's not true.
Yeah,
that isn't true.
In little bits. This is all Lilith, and I'm so proud of her. She's just flying free and doing what she loves doing. She should always have done. It's just beautiful to see. I absolutely love it.
That's so sweet.
He's sweet, isn't he?
He's very sweet, and he's better at talking than I am. I'm really not. No, you are. I'm really not very good at it. It's I think it's that, I don't know if it's that thing of being creative, it's kind of.
What she's trying to say is I haven't got a creative bone in my body, so I can talk.
That isn't true at all. It's not true at all. But, that is just who I am. I'm quite happy to just lock myself away for like hours, days, months.
This afternoon we've been doing layouts. And it's just a joy to watch. You kind of see somebody working differently to how you would. I'd have done things one way, and Lilith does it a different way. And ultimately, the way that she's done it looks absolutely amazing. And it's just an absolute joy to watch.
So what's been your biggest challenges that you faced?
Timeline. Deadline. We didn't give ourselves anywhere near enough time for this one. It's kind of become quite pressured now. Realistically, we had an idea in our head that we wanted to release on Halloween. So us being us, without thinking things through too much, we just said, "Oh, fuck it, we're going to release on Halloween." and it's kind of suddenly you realize that 3 weeks is kind of a tight deadline.
It is, but then I have this I work much better under pressure. I can be a bit lazy sometimes and go, oh, I've got a month to do this, it's fine. And then the last minute you go, oh my God, it's like I've got a couple of days. But I actually find that in anything I do, I always seem to work better under pressure. And I know, it's going to all be done and I'll stress about it for a few days, but that's when I think I work at my best.
Absolutely.
And I hate that so much because I hate being under pressure. But it's always been the same with anything I've ever done. That's when it happened. The magic happens when I'm under pressure.
Yeah.
So it's fine though. It's all been going. Into place today, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a train coming, but whatever, it's a light.
So is it going to be print or is it going to be digital?
Right now it's going to be digital because honestly, print magazines it's such a difficult space to get traction. The internet it's sad, but the internet has kind of killed print magazines. So that's something that what we're actually planning at the moment is we're planning like quarterly issues with a couple of specials. We're looking at doing a Christmas special and maybe a Valentine's special. And then when we've got like a year under our belt for main issues, we'll look at really, what's the word? Like consolidating, I guess. I don't know. All this
anthology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, an actual print anthology and book format of all the stories that we've got in all the issues. So then it will be print format for people to buy.
Yeah. With all the cover art and everything from each issue in there as well. Like almost like a coffee table book, I guess.
Yeah. Fantastic.
That is the plan.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, things might change. A lot's going to depend on, kind of, we won't know until we see what sort of audience we've got, whether it's going to be worth doing a print version of the magazine. We'd like to, because, it's nice to have something physical in your hand.
Yeah.
But,
it's also new, and it's just knowing, how it's going to be received.
I have a friend who publishes a magazine, and they do print and digital, and they've had so much trouble finding reliable printers for a reasonable price. It can get out of hand really, really quick. So, and again, one of the things that was really important to us this time was we don't want to take advantage of any authors. We believe that writing is a job. It's hard work. It doesn't come easy, and people should be compensated for it. So we didn't want to do, kind of send us your story for absolutely nothing, and all you'll get is like a contributor copy or whatever. We wanted to pay people for their work.
Yeah.
So we're paying each and every author that's in here out of our own pocket, before we've made any money at all, because we think that that's the right thing to do. So we didn't really want to commit to doing a print issue, which can, and commit to hundreds of quid that, we might never make back.
Yeah. Fantastic. So how are you handling diversity and representation in your content?
That's one of the things that Lily's going to be much more qualified than I am to speak on, but it was something that was insanely important to us.
Yeah.
So I'll let Lily take this one.
Well, no, we had it. It was open to everyone. And we do have authors that we have trans authors.
Yeah.
We do have a mix, and we just kind of, it's that difficult thing. You kind of go, you don't really want to label anything because always hate that. I'm not a fan of labels. But you also want to make it known, because we do live in that time where you kind of have to, in a way, to let people know that they, will be accepted. I am a mother of trans kids, so I know how that all works, and they've given me input themselves into all this, because it's it's a learning curve for me. But we wanted to make sure that this publication was inclusive of everyone. Whoever wants to submit to us is welcome, and we want that in the magazine, because queer fiction is very different from straight fiction. It's got a very different vibe, and it's not something I feel that I'm qualified to write myself. I love reading it, but it's written in a very different way, and I don't have the same experiences that, say, my son, who is transgender, has. So I couldn't possibly write from their point of view or their perspective. So it is nice to read stories that are written from that perspective. We are kind of...
It was important to both of us that we didn't want to say we are looking for X, Y, and Z. We didn't want to say we are looking specifically for work from female authors or people of color or queer or whatever. We wanted to say, this is Cult Horrotica. We're a family. We will take everything and we'll look at it on an equal footing. We can hand on heart say every single story and feature that we've got in this magazine was chosen because it spoke to us. It's quality, irrespective of who wrote it. And it's turned out that we have a really nice mix. We have stories from females, we have stories from trans, we have stories from straight, male, people of color. We've got the whole gamut, and it wasn't done based on, well, oh my God, we need a queer story in there. Because honestly, I'm not personally a fan of positive discrimination. To me, discrimination is discrimination. We want things based on how the story holds up, as opposed to, well, we have to shoehorn in a story from a queer writer because otherwise we're going to get accused of not being. Fuck that. That's not how we roll. We're putting things in there. We'd quite happily put out an issue that was 100% queer if they were the best stories that we got. We're not we're not looking at it from that standpoint at all. So I guess in a way, a lot of people wouldn't like it, but I guess we're not really handling, diversity at all. We're just saying, send us your stories and we'll pick the best.
It's a hard thing. It's really difficult to know what to do for the best or what's the right thing to do, It's very tricky.
It is.
I think all you can do is just, do your best and just let people know that we are an inclusive publication.
Absolutely.
And everyone is welcome to submit to us. And
fantastic. Brilliant. So what's your take on the balance between the gore and the erotica? Is it sort of like, do you have any limits that you would go to, or?
We have subjects that neither of us are fans of. If somebody's writing a story that includes rape, if the main focus of the story is that and it's there for shock value, it's not getting in our magazine.
No.
Because it's not something that either of us feel should be exploited and taken lightly. And there are other subjects as well. If it's in there and it serves the story and it's there for a reason, then we kind of read the story as a whole.
You have to, don't you? It's a difficult one because you go, oh, we won't accept anything that's non-consensual.
Yeah, but
and then you have stories that are, but then they flip the switch a bit
Yeah.
and it becomes something else. And you go, well, in that context, it's different. But if you've just exploiting it for the shock value,
Exactly
then
right.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
So
I mean-
we do have that as guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of, it is really, really difficult in this genre because you tread such a fine line. I guess a lot of it is kind of taste. It's
Yeah.
you know, if something is there purely and simply for shock value, we're probably not going to include it, and we certainly won't include anything that includes hate speech or homophobia or transphobia or racism or any of the isms.
Yeah.
You know, they don't even get a foot in the door. You know, we're not interested.
Yeah.
We had a submission this time that we both read, and it wasn't the author's intent at all, but it made both of us uncomfortable. And it didn't get in. It was a well-written story.
Yeah, it was, but it came across as transphobic.
And it wasn't the intent in the slightest. And it was really, really well written, but it was written by a straight guy writing from a trans point of view, and it came across as transphobic.
It's really difficult.
We turned it down.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an easy thing, but you know, it's difficult to walk that line between something that's too extreme and not. I guess we do it, you know, if we read a story and it makes both of us uncomfortable to include it, then we're not going to include it.
I mean, horror in itself the point of horror is to elicit fear and make you feel uncomfortable.
There's a difference, though. There's a difference between being uncomfortable because something is ooh and uncomfortable because something is you've got to be fucking kidding.
Yeah. All about
That's
how you write it and who writes it. And I mean, we've had all the conversation about having knowledge about something before you write it and knowing and maybe even running it past, you know, like the story that was sent to us, I did run past my son. He's transgender, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't being, you know, that protective mum and being a little bit weird about it, because I immediately get on the defensive. So I was like, can you just, you know, and they said to me that they didn't believe the author was being transphobic, but they didn't know what they were talking about. So that's how it came across. So you have to be really careful, I think, when you write, when you're not part of, you know, part of a culture. I mean, how can you write?
You might have a vague understanding, even a really well-educated person. I mean, like Lilith says, she has kids that are trans, so she's lived a fair part of her life on a day-to-day basis with trans people that are really close, and she still would never say, "I understand what it's like to be trans." Because how can you? You know, how can you, unless you've experienced that yourself, then you can't have an understanding of it. And it's not something that you're qualified to write about. It does come across as exploitative.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, one of the hardest things for both of us, and kind of one of the saddest things, if I'm being honest, is seeing how little understanding people have of even basic female anatomy.
It's funny, though, right?
It's not funny. It's scary as shit, honestly. When you know, I mean, you would think that if you're going to write in this genre, you would at least have a vague understanding, but apparently not. Which kind of makes both of us sad, because you kind of feel for these people's partners. It's one of the things I know. It's kind of funny to talk about, but it's really not. It's worrying that guys specifically don't take the time to learn.
Yeah. It's like it takes you right out of it a bit when you read something and then all of a sudden they say something so wrong and random.
Exactly right. And you're sitting there going, that's not how it works.
Do you want to give us an example?
An example? Oh my God.
Honestly, I don't know how explicit your podcast gets, if I'm honest.
Don't worry about it.
We had somebody writing that they inserted a finger into a clitoris, which exactly.
How did you do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We also had a lot of people who make certain sex acts an awful lot easier than they are in real life.
Yeah. And it's just, it takes you out of it a bit. I mean, you need some realism in this. I honestly, nobody's fitting fist anywhere without lube. But apparently in some of these stories they are. But, it is that thing. I know what you write. A lot of the time these stories are fantastical and they're paranormal. And you have to suspend your disbelief.
But things have to have continuity.
Yes, there is a point. I think when it comes to...
Honestly, if you've just described like a monster dick...
Oh my God, we're going down this.
Yeah, we're going down this way. But if you just described, a monster's dick as being larger than any human dick,
the size of an arm,
and you have the female protagonist who you've made sure we know is quite inexperienced. It's not going to be an easy thing. Not an
easy thing, no. You expect a little bit of realism there, otherwise you get taken out of it, and you go, "Hang on, how's that even going to work?"
Exactly right. Yeah, I mean, both of us, have read submissions, and not just submission books that have actually been published, where you read stuff like that and it's, oh, come on, really? You just completely and totally taken me out of this story, because we get that it's not a real thing because obviously you're talking about monsters, but you have to have a little bit.
There has to be something that connects you to the real world to make you want to keep reading. Make you feel like you're part of the story.
I mean, when you're reading something that's supposed to be turning you on and you're sitting there going, well, how the hell did they do that? you just told
that work?
How did that work? Exactly. You just told me that, that somebody threw somebody onto a bed to ravage them, and then 2 seconds later they're in the middle of a room dancing or standing up or whatever. It's not happening. It's not working. Stop it.
No, it's not.
And I think this is obvious. This kind of cycles back to one of the reasons that we're doing this, is because honestly, this genre is seen as throwaway and trashy. It's quite often seen as, well, we can just write any old crap, as long as we put in hot sex and then link it with really bad story, then we'll get away with it, because people are reading it as being the literary equivalent of a porn video, and that's not how we see it.
No.
So that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this, to actually give a voice to people who can actually write this stuff.
There's a place for it without being seen as just, smut.
Exactly right. We want to do like something for people to be proud to read, as opposed to having to hide it or whatever. That bothers both of us, is when people, we've had people who are just kind of ashamed to say that they like a post. Lily's done posts before publishing some of her short stories on Instagram, and had private messages from people saying, oh my God, I really loved that. But they won't like it publicly or comment on it, because they're worried that people are going to see that they're liking it. And that bothers both of us.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you should be ashamed. You need to own it.
100%. There's nothing
why
wrong.
Should we be ashamed of it?
Exactly right. I mean, what the hell's wrong with enjoying sex?
No.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Online, when people actually like something, they're worried about the keyboard warriors that are going to follow them and sort of like take them down, kind of thing, aren't they? It's very much a cancel
Yeah, absolutely.
And people
I can't remember the word.
Yeah, people get so stressed about follower numbers and whatever, and it means shit. It doesn't mean a thing. You can have 10,000 people following you, but if only 5 of them are interacting with you, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Most of them are bots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you do. I must admit, I guess with what I post on Instagram, you are going to get some really weird followers.
Kind of.
And it's and you just kind of go, okay, fine, why block those? They're kind of weird.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, actually, I've met a whole new range of authors through, because it's ridiculous. I've got like 4 Instagram accounts now, and it's like, I've met a whole new range of authors who are into, the erotic horror, or even just like the splatterpunk and body horror and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of opened my eyes a lot as well. And it is a whole new world there. But if you put erotic or spicy or any of that into your hashtags, you also get quite a lot of people who send you half-naked photos. And
honestly, that's one of the massive bugbears I post about it on I've like Lilith, I've got more than one Instagram feed, and it's one of my recurring things on one of my Instagram feeds is that just because somebody writes or posts erotic content, it's not a fucking open invitation for a guy to send a dick pic.
No. Yeah.
I'm really sorry, but it's sexual abuse. You kind of sending an unwanted or an uninvited dick pic is sexual abuse, and guys that do that should be fucking named and shamed for it. There's no difference between a guy walking down the street flashing people from a dirty mat than somebody sending a dick pic. I hate it. It's I've seen some of the messages that Lilith gets from guys, and honestly, they just make me so angry, because why the hell would you think that just because somebody posts, an erotic story or whatever, that means they're obviously easy and wanting to sex you?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but, there's that block button.
Yeah, there's that block button.
I mean, quite a lot, and it's quite nice. You just say, block. You know?
It's just the ones.
I'm not gonna.
The ones that don't get it. It's the ones that you send them a message back saying no, and they, still don't get the idea. But
it's just that I'm not going to change.
No,
I'm like,
absolutely not. You shouldn't.
I don't know. I guess now being a lot older, I kind of just go, you know what? I'm going to live the life I want to and do what I want, and I'm not going to worry about what anyone thinks about me. If they don't like it, then it's 100%. Tough.
Yeah,
unfollow me, or I'll block you if you're being a bit weird.
Yeah,
and that's fine, And it's just one of those things. And this kind of doing this genre took me by surprise, because I never expected it. I thought I was just going to write pure horror. That was it. I know I was a massive fan of like Stephen King, and I thought, you're not going to say that.
Yeah, you really are basic bitch.
Oh my god! I'd say that.
Just for the record, Stephen King can't write Dark Tower. I hate that, but the series so much.
We've got a massive Stephen King lover here. No. But you know what I mean? It was like, I felt like, because I was massive into Lovecraft. I love Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe. And I just thought, maybe I'll go down the either cosmic horror or gothic route. And I'll just write horror. And I started doing that, but it never felt right for me. I never felt I connected with it. And I'm not sure how it happened. I think I just had this one
I know exactly
moment.
how it happened.
Yes.
We have a friend who, again, is an insane artist, Hannah Kate Makes. So everyone go and follow Hannah on Instagram. Her Instagram is Hannah Kate Makes. And what a, sort of like name dropping whore. She painted she painted a Krampus picture.
Yes.
And it spoke to Lilith, and Lilith wrote a story based around the Krampus picture.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah,
and we now own that original Krampus painting, which we both absolutely love. Our home is very eclectic. But that painting hangs in our living room, and it's what inspired your first.
It was last Christmas.
Erotic story. It was last Christmas.
I thought I would. You know what? I thought I'd do a little Christmas special short story for my followers on Instagram. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write an erotic Krampus story.
It just spoke to you, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. It just happened. So I did it, and I was really embarrassed about posting it. And actually, when I was writing it, I was like, oh, how can I write that? Oh, my God. I did have that. But I thought, no, I'm going to do it because it felt right and I wanted to. So I did. And I did the story and I posted it. And then I think it was even Christmas Day. I said,
yeah, I think it was.
To all my followers, I've just posted this story. Go and read it. And then I closed it all down and went, I thought, I'm going to go and get drunk for Christmas and then I'll see what happens. And the response I had from my followers was just amazing. And I thought, oh, wow. I didn't have anything negative. Everyone was really positive about it.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep doing this.
And it lit a fire in you, didn't it?
It did. It lit a fire in me and I enjoyed doing it. And I just continued. Then I just kind of just kept putting out flash fiction on my Instagram. And I kept it a little bit tame to start with. But as it progressed, I got a little bit more. And I felt like there's only so much you can put on Instagram. And I thought I was a bit worried about getting banned. Like, how much, what can you actually say? And it just kind of snowballed from there. But it was definitely Hannah Kate and her Krampus
It was her Krampus painting.
Which spoke to me. And I thought, I need to write this story. And I'm going to have to publish that again for Christmas. Because that was just...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's where it went from there. And I can't imagine writing anything else. I don't think I could just write straight horror.
No, it always sneaks in, doesn't it?
Yeah, I always have to have some kind of erotic, you know, and I've always loved vampires and the paranormal and that kind of thing. So I've always got that kind of vibe running through my stories, what I have at the moment. You know, who knows where it'll go. But that's kind of where I like that paranormal element and pushing the boundaries a little bit and just seeing where it goes. I mean, it's still new to me. I've only been writing, well, it was Christmas last year. So it's still, you know, very new to me and who knows what's going to happen. But
you wouldn't think it reading the stuff though. Oh my God, you've been doing it all alive.
He's so nice to me.
We'll see after.
More wine.
Sorry, I do apologise.
It's all right.
So, are there any upcoming themes or special issues that readers should be looking out for?
Yeah, I guess we're planning a Christmas themed issue.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
Yeah,
we've got absolutely. To do the Christmas theme.
You know, it goes back to the Krampus thing. It's sort of like, you know, it feels right to do a celebratory issue, I guess, that celebrates Lilith's first exploration into this genre, where it gives you a chance to republish that Krampus story and update it a little bit. You know, hopefully other people will be inspired to write some Christmas-themed erotica.
That's always fun.
It's always
Christmas
fun.
theme is always fun.
Absolutely, you know?
You can really go to town with Christmas. It's very fun.
Yeah.
So we've got that, and one of the things alongside the magazine, Lilith is doing a blog where she's publishing some of her own work on her blog, and we'll be doing part of the subscription to that blog will include a subscription to the magazine, and there will be a couple of issues a year that are purely and simply subscriber only issues. So if people subscribe to Lily's blog, there'll be a link on all the websites when we from Halloween when we go live with them.
Yes.
Then they will also, as well as all of Lily's stories, they'll get a subscription to the main magazine, and they'll get a couple of subscriber-only issues every year as well.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Well, thank you both for being on the show. It's been absolutely fantastic having you both here.
Oh, thanks for having us. We've loved that.
Yeah, it's been good fun.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thanks so much.